Sorry. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
You may have a seat. State your name and spell it for us.
Brandy Willis, BRANDY WILLIS.
Ms. Willis, tell me, do you have any recollection of Millie Place?
Yes.
And tell us what your role was in Millie Place's care.
I was her foster care case manager.
And what did that entail doing?
That entailed monthly visits in her foster home, completing supervised visits between her and her mother, and transporting her.
Okay. And what period of time were you her case manager?
December 2015 until February 2016.
And during this period of time, where was she living?
She was placed in the foster home of the Lamberts.
And did you have, were there any problems with Millie with regards to talking about things that were, that her grandmother told her to say, or her great-grandmother told her to say?
No, ma'am, not in my presence.
Not in your presence. But it is fair that you yourself talked to Miss Tessa Clendenning about not talking to Millie about the Rosenbaums, correct?
It is possible, yes.
And tell us why that was.
At that time, we just did not want the case to be discussed with the child.
And were you having problems with the child discussing the case with her family?
I don't recall.
I'm going to show you the document and see if that helps refresh your recollection.
Okay.
Does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You tell me that you have to talk to Tessa Clendenning about limiting her conversations about the case with Millie?
Yes, that's what I stated there, yes.
And is that because the psychologist wanted you to stop to tell Miss Tessa Clendenning not to talk to their child about the case?
Yes, according to my notes, yes.
Did there come a time when Tessa complained of a black eye on Millie?
Yes.
And did Miss Lambert tell you that she thought Millie might have fallen when she stacked chairs on the bed to try and reach the fan?
Yes.
And Miss Lambert told you Millie was very difficult to handle and wouldn't listen?
Yes.
Correct? And that would be especially so after she had been with her mother, correct?
Yes.
And Miss Lambert told you that Millie...
Response?
The response is it's Miss Lambert and it's impeaching what Miss Lambert said. Miss Lambert denied certain things and I'm impeaching her.
Well, I'm going to need to know more. Approach.
Isn't it true that you had problems with Millie picking at herself, picking her nose, picking her toes until they bleed? Did Millie pick her nose and skin until it bleeds?
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Good morning.
Here, Andy, so just have a few questions for you.
Okay.
You had indicated that, in your opinion, Ms. Lambert was one of the best foster parents you've ever had. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step down. Any objection to this witness being excused? All right. And you're excused. The judge will call us next witness.
Sandra Bradley, please.
right up here, maybe. Through that gate, around toward the jury, into this witness box. Yes, ma'am. Watch your step. Raise your right hand toward us.
Would you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you take a seat and please tell us your name and spelling?
Okay. My name is Sandra Gravely, spelled Gravely.
And Sandra?
Yes. Sandra, Sandra.
Thank you. Ms. Gravely, where are you currently employed?
I am employed with a friend's house.
And what is that?
It's a group home for children in crisis.
Ms. Gravely, prior to a friend's house, where did you work?
I work for the Griffin-Spalding County School System.
And prior to that?
I moved to Georgia and I worked for a corporation called Toltex Corporation.
At a friend's house, are you dealing with children, with foster children or for children that have been taken out of homes?
Yes.
And do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
I do.
And how do you know her?
I met Jennifer at the group home, actually, when she first came into foster care.
About how old was she?
She was around 12 years old. I believe it was 2001.
So you've known her for quite some time.
Yes.
And what was your relationship like in the later years? How often would you see Jennifer?
On and off. There was a period from 2001 when she came into care, and then on and off I would see her, and then she returned back to our group home at the age of 17. And from the age of 17 throughout her life, I've had contact with Jennifer because of milestones that she's experienced. High school graduation, college graduation, joining the military, and her wedding. So up until the age of 30.
Okay. Did you ever have an opportunity to meet Millie and Layla?
At one point when she obtained them in her care, I had the opportunity to meet them, yes.
And can you tell us what was that experience? Can you describe that experience?
She called me to let me know that she always called me like an aunt. She treated me like an aunt, and she would always say different things about what was going on. So when she received the girls, she was so excited, and she said, I just want to let you know, you're an aunt now. And I said, oh, wow. And she told me about the two sisters that she was now caring for. And then I got to meet them July of, I think it was 2015, and they had just come off the boat from a trip. And she brought them actually to my office, and we spent a little time together and played together.
And tell us were there any boundaries? Or were the children allowed to play and do what they wanted?
Yes, actually we had gifts for the children that she was there to pick up, and they just sat there and opened them up and freely played with them and moved around, and they seemed happy.
How long were they there?
We spent probably in excess an hour or more together.
Did you notice anything particular about their behavior?
Nothing out of the ordinary or in particular.
Okay. How did the girls play? Were these dainty girls, or was it
eating?
How were the girls?
I would say the oldest sister was more laid back, relaxed. She would focus just on one toy or one item. We had a large variety of items to choose from, and so she picked one and she just sat there and played with it. The youngest sister, she was rambunctious. She moved about a lot. I was really worried in the office because it is an office setting, and there were corners on the desk and things, so I chose to sit on the floor with the two girls and Jennifer to play.
What were you worried? Why were you concerned about the corners of the furniture?
Well, because, with small children, and especially if they move around a lot and, they seem a little hyper or just, like I said, rambunctious, that was my concern. I didn't want her to bump herself or hurt herself. So, in working with children, that was always my concern.
How did the girls act towards Jennifer?
As we sat and had just general conversation and talked about what she'd been doing, the vacations and things like that, they just played and ignored, what we talked about, and occasionally, we look over to say something and they would respond back, but nothing in particular that I have concerns for.
Did you see anything wrong with the girls, with their face, with their body?
Layla had a bump over, I don't remember which eye it was, but I just remember that it was like I call it a goose egg, a knot. And so I was like, oh, I said, you have, I said, oh, you have a goose egg. And her sister Millie responded, sissy fail, so I just took it as it's a childhood, injury.
Did you notice any raccooning eyes, any dark circles around the eyes?
Not at that time that I remember.
Any bruises, cuts, or lacerations?
It was in the summertime, so they had on like little dresses, little, onesie outfits, and I didn't see anything with the exception of, like I said, the goose egg.
And what did you think about the goose egg?
I didn't really think too much into it. I just, working with children who have been in abusive situations, I just took it that, it was a normal knot for a child of that age.
Is that something you've seen before?
In my line of work, yes, many times.
And bumping heads is that tell me about how frequently you've seen children bump their heads.
Considering, their mobility and their age, wow, I see it. It's common with children who, especially when they're as rambunctious and move around a lot. And like I said, there were a lot of things in the room, and if they see it, they focus on it. That's what she does. And she was tripping, you trip over stuff.
She was tripping over stuff?
So like I said, naturally, that's why I was like, we'll sit on the floor, because I didn't feel comfortable sitting up in an office chair and looking down at her.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
You're welcome.
Ms. Andrews, cross.
Good morning, Ms. Grable, is that correct?
Gravely, yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Andrews, and I have a few questions for you.
Yes.
You indicated that you worked at a friend's house?
Yes, I work
And
at
you currently
Princeton.
work there?
Yes,
And that is a group home for children in crisis?
yes,
And so at a group home for children in crisis, you have children that come in with violent behavior, is that correct?
that's correct.
And you have children that come in that with throw temper tantrums.
That's correct.
And you have children that come in that are uncooperative and disrespectful.
That is correct.
And you have children that come in that for whom consequences don't scare them.
That's correct. Yes.
And you have children that come into your friend's house who have fits of rage and no remorse.
That would be correct.
And you have children that come into your friend's house who refuse to accept responsibility for their actions. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
You indicated that because of your work in friend's house, you've seen children in abusive situations. Is that correct?
Yes, we receive children that are being rescued from those situations.
So let me ask you this. On July 2015, that was the only time that you saw Millie and Layla?
That was the only time that I saw them physically, yes.
And working in the friend's house, you're aware that children can have conflicted feelings towards their abusers, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that just because someone gives children nice clothes and toys doesn't mean they're not abusing them, correct?
Exactly, yes.
And if an individual takes children to community events and gives them lavish birthday parties, doesn't mean they're not abusing them.
Yes.
And you would agree with me that abusers, there's no one look to abuser. Across race, socioeconomic, anything. Anyone can be an abuser. They don't have a specific look.
Exactly.
Can be males, females, black, white.
Exactly. I'm aware of that.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State Exhibit 1. And my first witness term. And if you saw a child with these injuries in State Exhibit 1, would you have concerns for child physical abuse?
I would.
My first witness term. Show you what's been marked as State Exhibit 80. It's been introduced. If you saw a child with these injuries, would you have concerns for child physical abuse?
I would definitely take them to the doctor to have that assessed.
And you're a mandatory reporter?
I am a mandatory reporter.
And if you saw the injuries in State's Exhibit 8, would you make a report?
I would, yes. In my line of work, I would have to.
If you saw the injuries to the back of a child as shown in State's Exhibit 1, would you make a report?
I would, yes, I would be mandated to do that.
And are you aware that this case does not involve any dates or anything that occurred in July of 2015?
Repeat your question?
The case that we're in court for today, we're not here for anything that happened in July of 2015. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Are you aware that we're not here for anything that happened in August of 2015?
Yes.
You're aware that we're not here for anything that happened in September of 2015?
Yes.
And so you have no information to provide us as to what happened in October of 2015, do you?
No.
You don't have any information to provide us as to what happened in November of 2015, do you?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Ms. Paul, anything else?
Ms. Andrews asked you about the type of children that come to a friend's house, and you mentioned some of the kinds of children that come to a friend's house. But you also have children who are respectful that come to a friend's house, correct?
Yes.
And you have children who don't exhibit violent behavior who come to the friend's house.
Yes.
And you have people that don't have temper tantrums and come to a friend's house.
Yes.
And you have folks that are cooperative and come to a friend's house, correct?
Yes. Yes, we do.
And this time that you saw these girls, was it in July or in August?
July was when I received the pictures, and then they came to visit shortly after that.
And what month would that have been?
Somewhere between July and August. They were coming off of a road trip, like I said, and we had gathered and collected with the Rosenbaums becoming new parents. It was sort of our gift, and because Jennifer had been a resident with us, we often will provide first-time parent gifts and things like that to our residents that we still may have contact with, and so that was our gift to them.
Were they coming back from Hilton Head, South Carolina?
Yes, ma'am, they sure were.
So you would have seen them after they came back from Hilton Head?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Andrews asked you about these pictures that she showed you. Would you want to know more than just looking at the picture?
I would.
Would you want to follow up and find out what the context is?
I would, definitely, yes.
Would you like to find out if these children died through this child died through some other means?
Definitely, yes.
Would you look into whether there had been an accident or not?
Yes.
Thank you.
Were you aware that according to the in-court testimony, these injuries happened in the days and hours prior to Layla's death?
No.
That question, that line of questioning, if I may approach.
Okay, and I'm going to ask the witness also to step in. Ms. Small.
I'm objecting to the questions, to the line of questioning, the questions of Ms. Andrews, to the effect of, are you aware that the testimony, are you aware that the evidence in this case is that such and such, stating what the evidence, what state's evidence is, not stating that there's, the trial's not over, but it's misleading to suggest that's the only testimony that hasn't been cross-examined and that other matters haven't been brought up, which they have. So to state defense's position and state it as fact when it's been subject to cross-examination and it's been whittled away at, not to mention the fact that we haven't heard from our side yet. We're just in the process of giving our side. So I think that's an improper line of questioning.
Ms. Andrews, response?
Yes, Your Honor. This has been the testimony so far from our witnesses. I don't know what their witnesses are going to say, but I'm accurately asking her, are you aware that this has been the testimony? That is the testimony so far. I don't believe that's inaccurate. they can always cross-examine them and say, we don't know what other people will say. But that's been the testimony so far.
Well, I'm concerned about all of these types of questions. They seem to be guilt-assuming in some circumstances, and in other circumstances, they're asking a juror to comment on only parts of what we're seeing here in the courtroom. And in a way, it's asking them to make a judgment about a case based upon only a limited piece of what is being seen. And with witnesses such as this, I don't know that it makes sense to be putting them in the position of being essentially a juror who is having to comment on what your version of the evidence is. So it seems to me that when we have a fact witness that's brought up, that the inquiry should be about what they know, and not anything else.
And with this witness, the defense did bring up the context of the injuries. So I believe that I should have a follow-up as to the context of the injuries.
The context of the injury is the entirety of the case. It's not what we're hearing, not your context and her context. And so that's just best left for the jury who's been here and listening to the entirety of the context that's being created. So I think we need to stay away from these types of questions both on the defense side and the state side. All right.
It's a striking answer of the witness because she didn't answer. Sustaining the objection, a striking answer.
No, it's already part of the record. I mean,
Yes, it disregarded.
I will do that, yes. Thank you. All right. Let's bring the jury back up. The last response made by this witness.
Just a few more questions. Did Jennifer ever tell you that her Millie and Layla were in daycare?
That they were in daycare?
Daycare, yes.
Not that I remember. We didn't have that conversation.
Did Jennifer ever tell you that Millie was in gymnastics?
I haven't had that conversation. I never had it.
Did Jennifer ever tell you that Layla was in gymnastics?
No.
And did Jennifer ever tell you that Layla suffered a broken leg?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step down. Any objections to witness being excused? All right, and you're excused. The defense will call its next witness.
Shelby Rollins. Shelby Rollins.
Right up here, please, ma'am. Raise your right hand and record this small. We will swear you in.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all you need to have a seat. You state your name and spell it.
Shelby Rawlings, Shelby Rawlings.
How do you know if you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
How do I know her?
Yes.
I met her through my husband.
And how did your husband meet her?
They attended basic training together in the military.
And what does your husband do? What is his occupation?
He is a City of Atlanta police motorman, and he is also currently in the reserves deployed right now.
And he's in Afghanistan? Or?
He is actually in the Republic of Georgia near Russia.
And what do you do for a living?
I work at a real estate company.
And have you and your husband ever employed Jennifer to babysit your child?
Yes. I wouldn't say we employed her. We were friends, so I just asked.
He just asked.
Yeah.
So you'd ask her to stay with the kids? And
Yes.
would this be before November of 2015 or since November of 2015?
It goes back 10 years, so it's before and after to now.
Okay. And so how recently has she taken care of your kids?
I'd say last month she took my youngest daughter.
And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Has she taken them to gymnastics?
She took my middle daughter to gymnastics regularly.
Have you had an opportunity to see her foster girls?
I never did. Oh, I did it on one occasion. I never met both of them, though.
Tell me about that occasion.
My middle daughter, she's kind of an accident prone, so we were at one of her orthopedic appointments getting casted, and when we came out from having her casted, I saw Jennifer and one of the little girls, but I didn't.
Do you have an idea of when that was?
Oh my gosh, I honestly, I know it was it was when she broke both of her arms, so it would have been it would be in the winter months. I don't know exactly when.
November of 2015, sound right?
I can't be for sure, but I know it was cold.
Okay. And it was in 2015?
Yes.
And did you see anything about this little girl that concerned you?
No, I didn't really. I tried to get out of there. I didn't look the greatest, so.
Okay. But anything that would alarm you?
No.
Has anyone in your family had broken bones?
Yeah.
Did you seek treatment immediately?
No.
Tell me about the events that you had.
Objection.
When the states made the building, by asking you some questions.
Sustain the objection.
Did your children ever have injuries at the gym?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I have this time.
Good morning, Ms. Rollins.
Good morning.
We had a chance to speak briefly a few weeks ago, correct?
Yes.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, were you at Jennifer's house the day Layla died?
No, sir.
So you don't have any knowledge about any of the events leading up to Layla's death, correct?
No, sir.
Ms. Mold asked you about whether or not you had ever had Jennifer watch over kids, so I want to ask you a few questions about that, okay?
Yes, sir.
Do you find that when you leave your children in someone's care and custody, that it's important that they are truthful with you?
Yes.
Do you find that do you trust that what they are telling you is going to be completely the truth at all times?
Yes.
If your children were injured in their care, would you expect them to mention that to you?
Yes.
Would you expect them to seek medical treatment if medical treatment was needed immediately?
If it was needed immediately, yes.
So if someone was not telling the truth to you, that would concern you, would it not?
Yes, I would say depending on what it was.
Okay, let's talk specifically about child care.
Okay.
If you expected your child was in daycare, okay, ma'am, if your children were supposed to be going to daycare, would you expect that they were actually going to a daycare that you thought they were going to?
Yes.
Would it concern you, however, if you found out that the children were never actually going to daycare?
Objection again, subject to interpretations.
What's the question?
You mentioned gymnastics, correct?
Yes,
Did Miss Rosenbaum ever tell you how Layla was injured?
I don't believe so.
So she never talked to you about how she was injured?
I don't think we ever talked about her injuries.
How close of friends were you?
We were very close, but I just never asked. That was uncomfortable. I knew they were going through a lot, so I didn't.
You didn't ask how Layla broke her leg?
I honestly didn't even know anything about. I didn't ask, so I didn't know.
Did you know she broke her leg?
I don't know the result of any injuries. It wasn't my business.
Okay. Did you see her with a cast on?
No, I only saw one kid, and that was at the doctor's office. That's the only time I've ever saw one of the children.
So you've only seen the children once?
Yes.
And do you remember which child it was?
I just know she was small.
Okay.
I can't tell you which one. I don't know.
So
I never
it's-
met them.
So it's safe to say that you never saw them after, if Layla had a cast on, you never saw that?
No.
So well, let me ask you this, were you aware that the cast came off on November 13th, 2015, 4 days before death?
I wasn't aware of any. At that time, I wasn't around her. I had a lot going on in my life with my kids and stuff, so at that time I didn't see them. I didn't see anything with the kids, so.
So you didn't ever really see the kids?
I saw one of them on one occasion, but I could not tell you which child it was.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step down. Any objection, please be excused. All right, and you're excused. The defense will call its next witness.
The witness called Laila Sword.
Right here, please. Sir. Just right through that front gate. Yep. And then make your way over this way, in front of the jury box. And then around into this witness stand. Raise your right hand. And Ms. Small.
Yes, I do.
You state your name for the jury and spell it.
My name is Lyle Sword. It's Lylesword.
Mr. Sword, what do you do for a living?
I work for the United States Postal Service.
And how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
They live on my rural route that I deliver mail on.
And did you ever have occasion to see the girls out in the front yard when you were delivering mail?
Yes.
Did you know that they were foster children of Miss Jennifer Rosenbaum and Mr. Rosenbaum?
I did not originally, but yes, I did.
But you did after a period of time?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to see them on November 16th, 2015, the day they were flying kites?
Yes.
And how did the girls appear to you on that day?
Very happy they were playing in the front yard.
Were they running?
Yes.
Were they jumping and skipping?
Yeah, and leaving.
Sustain.
How were they moving?
Just like any other little girls.
Is there anything alarming about them?
No.
Did Layla do anything that gave you some concern? The little girl, the littlest one, do anything that gave you some concern?
No, they look just like two normal little girls playing in the front yard.
Did either of them try to climb your truck?
I believe it was the littlest one, I believe. Yes, it was close to the truck because I was stopped at their mailbox.
And was she trying to climb on the truck?
Action leaving.
She was.
Sustain.
Was she?
I disagree.
Did she climb on the truck?
I believe she touched the truck, but not into the truck, no.
Did she, did she run up to the truck?
Yes.
Did you notice her having any difficulty doing that?
No.
Did you see any bruises or scars?
No, I did not.
Any cuts or lesions?
Not that I noticed, no.
And if you had noticed something, you would have said something, is that right?
Depends. I mean, the children get bandaged. I mean, not necessarily.
Let me ask you this. With regards to what you saw about the girls, did anything alarm you?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart, I first want to talk with Ms. Moll asked you about, do you see any bruises or scars? Do you even remember what the girls were wearing that day?
No, I do not.
Is it safe to say that the girls were clothed? They had clothes on, correct?
Yes.
Did you see the back of either girl?
Not that I remember.
Did you see the groin area of either girl?
Not specifically, no.
Yes or no?
No.
Did you see the abdomen of either girl?
No.
Did you see the inner thigh area of either girl?
No.
And how close were you paying attention to whether or not any of these children had any scars or bruises?
Was not my, at that time, no.
It wasn't your focus at that time, correct?
No.
All right. You were doing your job?
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Moll asked you about did Layla ever come up to the truck? Tell us what happened.
Basically, I was stopped at the mailbox. Jennifer was the closest one to the box. A lot of times I will talk to my customers when they're there to give them mail. I had noticed that the two girls were in the front yard playing. The smallest one had run up towards the truck. I was stopped, told them, you know, stay away from the truck. And I was just talking to Jennifer, just talking about the children. She was very, very happy that day. And she had mentioned, I had asked if they were visiting, I believe, because I didn't know that at the time that Jennifer was fostering. She said that she was at that time. And she was just real happy about the girls. She was talking about maybe someday adopting.
Now, and this is a conversation that's happening pretty quickly, correct?
Yes.
You're not there for a whole long
Oh,
time.
no, a couple minutes.
And but as far as you said that Layla touched the truck, correct?
I believe so, yes, because she was very close to the truck.
Did she ever attempt to climb into the truck?
I don't remember that specifically, but she was very close to the truck.
So you remember her being close to the truck, but you don't remember if she actually climbed into the truck, correct?
I mean, I tried to keep them out of my truck, you know, so
Probably not.
she wasn't up in my lap, no.
Okay, she wasn't in your lap. She wasn't in your seat, right?
No.
She wasn't running around in the back?
No.
And was the truck stopped?
Yes.
All right. And if she had gotten to the truck, do you think that might be something that might stick out?
I've had several children try to get in the truck before, so
Was she one of them?
I do not remember.
Nothing further.
Thank you. All right, thank you, sir. You can step down.
Okay.
And you're excused unless there's an objection.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for calling, next witness.
Thanks, calls. Ani Patel.
Ani Patel. Through that gate. Around this way. If you're this, raise your right hand. And this mobile square you.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you take a seat, and if you could spell your name, state your name and spell your name for the record.
My name is Oni Patel, spelled Avanipatel.
Now, how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
Jennifer and I interned together at the Henry County District County's Office, the Juvenile Division.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
And where are you an attorney?
I'm at King & Spalding.
And did you have occasion to see Jennifer with her foster children?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
I believe she brought the girls to work one day, and then there was a time where we went to the movies. It was her and I and the two girls and a coworker's daughter.
And at the time that you saw the girls, did you see any cuts, nicks, abrasions, bruises on?
No,
Did you happen to see them more than one time or just that one time?
just those 2 times, the one time at work and at the movies.
Was there anything alarming about the children?
No,
Thank you, Mr. Calvin.
thank you.
When was it that you were interning with the DA's office?
When was it? The summer of 2015,
When did your internship end?
August, I believe the first week of
So it
August.
would be fair to say after August of 2015, you did not see the defendant nor the girls.
Yes, it'd be fair to say I did not see them.
So you weren't at their house on November the 17th of 2015.
No, ma'am.
In October of 2015, you didn't see the defendants or the girls.
Yes, I did not see them.
So you had no information about anything, injuries being on those girls after August, you said,
Yes, ma'am.
2015? And are you aware that this incident has nothing to do with any injuries pertaining to anything in August of 2015? This case?
This,
Yes.
could you repeat the question?
I'm sorry?
I will check the background question.
Overruled.
The indictment for which the defendants are sitting in trial for, the dates are not about August of 2015. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Were you aware of the work dynamic for Jennifer when she was in Henry County, when you and she were interning in Henry County?
As far as I know she was running for something, and that's honestly the extent of what I know.
Okay. Were you ever called into, or was she ever called into Jim Wright's office that you know of?
I believe she was called in before, but I wasn't there when it happened. I think she mentioned it, but I don't remember the details of that.
And were you involved in anything involving Jennifer and whether or not she was acting appropriately?
No, I was not.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, you can step down. And any objection to the witness being excused? All right, thank you, ma'am, you're excused. Please call the next witness.
I'm called Joyce Hinton.
Joyce Hinton.
Joyce Hinton.
Right up here, please, ma'am. Go through that gate, and then make your way over this direction, and come right up here to the witness. Raise your right hand, and Ms. Moe will swear you in.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you would take a seat. Tell us your name and spell it, please.
My name is Joyce Hinton, and that's spelled Hinton.
And Joyce is?
Joyce.
Thank you. Ms. Hinton, how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
We actually met at a commissioners meeting.
And when would that have been, in what year?
Whew, that would have been probably 4 years ago.
2015 sound right?
That sounds about right, yes.
And did you have a close relationship with Jennifer?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. What, do you have grandchildren of your own?
Yes, I do.
Do you, did Jennifer tell you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did Jennifer tell you? Is that the question? And your objection's relevance? I don't know what the question is. What's the question?
Did Jennifer tell you about the foster children?
I met them.
You met them? Where did you meet the foster children, foster girls?
She would bring them to meetings.
Do you remember specifically the year? We're talking about 2015 still.
Correct.
And about, do you have any idea about what month in 2015 that you saw the girls at a meeting?
Well, it would have been the first Tuesday of every month. That was when the meetings were.
So you saw the girls the first Tuesday of every month?
Yes, ma'am, usually, yes.
And what were the girls like?
Well, the girls were always very nicely dressed, very, they were not, they were nicely, they weren't real active. They, how most kids are running around and stuff like that. And, they weren't like that. They were just real well disciplined, I thought.
And their arms and legs were visible?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Did you notice any bruises or cuts or abrasions?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever have occasion to be eating with the children?
Absolutely.
And how many times has that occurred?
I would probably say 3 or 4 times.
And did you ever see the children eating?
Yes, I did.
Anybody trying to deprive them of food?
No.
Did either of the girls appear to be scared of Jennifer?
No.
How did the girls react towards Jennifer?
Well, they were very clingy to her.
And how did she react towards them?
She was very loving and engaging.
Thank you, Ms. Hinton. That's all I have.
Cross.
Good morning, Ms. Hinton. So you never saw the girls at the home of the Rosenbaums?
No.
Did you ever go to the Rosenbaums' home at all?
No, ma'am. I lived in one side of the county. They lived in the other.
So your interactions with the Rosenbaums and the girls would have been outside the home at the commissioner's meeting?
Yes.
And Ms. Moe asked you about when you would see the girls if they were dressed.
Yes.
And at any point in time during those meetings, did you ever have an opportunity to see the girls' backs at all?
Actually, yes. Not totally, but she had brought them to one meeting with sundresses on. So that pretty much exposed a lot of stuff, their arms, and yes.
Okay. My question was about their back. Did you see like from the neck down to their buttocks?
What?
Their sundresses?
Well, I could see their part of their back.
But not the entire back?
No.
And that would have been in the summer months when they had on summer dresses?
Yes.
Okay. And are those meetings, did you ever see them at the October meeting?
Probably, but like we have meeting every month, so it's kind of hard to remember that.
Do you recall what they would have been wearing at the October meeting?
Well, all I can say is she always had them dressed very cutely and nicely.
Would they be dressed appropriately for the weather?
Oh, of course.
So in October, would you expect if they would have on sundresses?
No, not in October.
What about the November meeting?
Probably she had them in something appropriate for the weather.
Not sundresses?
No.
So at that time, you wouldn't have been able to see their backs?
No.
What about their hip area?
No.
Their buttocks?
Of course not.
Or their groin areas?
No.
So you didn't see any of those parts when you would see the girls in October or November?
No.
And I think you indicated that they were eating well.
Yes.
And you talked about their behavior. You wouldn't describe their behavior as being rough and tumble, would you?
No, but I think, in the setting that we were in, they behaved. There was no reason for them to be being that, if you know what I'm saying.
They weren't acting rambunctious?
No.
They said quietly?
Yes.
Behaved.
Yes.
Was that at the direction of Ms. Rosenbaum?
No, they just normally did that.
She didn't even have to raise her voice at them, did she?
No, not really.
Nothing further.
You said you're not sure about the November meeting. Would it help you to look at a document to see if you remember when the November meeting was?
Sure.
See if this refreshes you.
Okay, yes.
When was the November meeting?
It would have been the first Tuesday of November.
Was that November 10th?
Yes.
And on November 10th, did you go eat at Huddle House afterwards?
Yes.
And you say that you've been at various meetings with her. Did you see them at other civic meetings?
Yes.
So your opportunity to see these children spanned a great length of time.
Yes, ma'am.
And at no point did you see any bruises, cuts, lesions, abrasions?
That's correct.
Thank you, Ms. Hinton.
So you saw them on November the 10th?
Yes.
Did Layla have a cast on when you saw them on November the 10th?
Not that I recall.
Okay, so you don't recall her having a bright pink cast at all? on
No.
November the 10th?
Anything else? All right, thank you, ma'am. You can step down, and you are excused unless there's an objection. Any objections, sir?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, so you're excused. Defense will call the first witness.
Next witness, you will call, is Jennifer Daniel.
Jennifer Daniel?
No, I misspoke earlier. We will call Jeremy Head to the stand.
Jeremy Head?
Yes.
All right, so right through the front gate, and make your way over here. And walk directly in front of the jury up into this witness stand. Raise your right hand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
If you please have a seat, state your name and spell it for us.
Jeremy Head, Jeremyhead.
And Mr. Head, how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
Met Jennifer when she came into a friend's house back in the early 2000s.
And you've known her ever since?
Yes, ma'am.
How well have you known her?
I know her pretty well.
Did you keep up with her over the years?
I kept up with her through Sandra Gravely because I didn't see her that much because I work for the government.
Okay. And when would you see her?
On and off. I think it had been a while since I had saw her. She came to get her license, and I saw her when I was working for Driver Services.
And who do you work for now?
I work for Henry County Emergency Management Agency.
Did there come a time where you were made aware that she lost her foster daughter?
No, ma'am. I found that out. I was looking on my cell phone, and I saw it, but she didn't tell me.
Okay. And did you have an agent to talk to her?
Right.
And if I can find it. And you asked them certain questions and they answered.
Right, general questions.
And the purpose is to find out about, I guess, where the children are eating, how they're eating, what they're eating.
Well, my process is the intake process, and our job is to get just the standard questions, their birthday, who's in the care, general questions like that before they go to the back. The nutritionist asks those questions.
And part of the questions that you ask, you inquire about daycare. Is that part of the questions?
Daycare?
Yeah, on the form that you guys have.
It may be on the form, but that's not a form we as customer service look at.
It
So,
would be the nutrition and the parent that goes over that form.
Correct.
Okay. So you wouldn't have any knowledge as to what Ms. Rosenbaum indicated as far as daycare on the day that she went on October the 22nd.
I would not.
And you indicated that you saw her with the girls for a brief period of time.
Correct.
Were they clothed when you saw them?
They were.
As part of the WIC intake process, do you do a physical examination of the children?
We do not.
So you wouldn't have taken off their clothes to observe whether
I
or
would not.
So you don't know whether or not they had injuries on their backs, their hips, their groin, or any other parts of their body outside of their face?
Correct.
Were you able to see their arms at all, if you recall?
Arms, because she was holding the youngest child, so she was, in her lap in front of her, and I didn't see anything out of the ordinary.
Were you able to see the bottom half? Did they have on shorts?
I did not see the bottom half. It's like this lady sitting right here, this is all we see from here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You can step down and make some excuse. Ms. Young, no objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right.
Yeah, just to check these here.
Yes.
McDaniel to the stand.
All right. Raise your right hand, please. Ms. Ball.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I did.
Okay, you take a seat and state your name and give us the spelling.
Jennifer McDaniel, JENNIFER McDaniel.
And what is your relationship to Joseph and Jennifer Rosenbaum?
I'm Joseph's sister.
And how do you know Jennifer?
We initially met in 2008. We worked together at Goodies.
And how soon after that did she get with Joseph?
My 21st birthday, so less than a year.
And what do you do for her?
I'm a customer service agent for an aircraft distribution company.
Did you have occasion to ever meet Layla and Millie, Laila Daniel and Millie Place?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about the first time you met them?
There were several occasions. I would visit over at their house several times, probably once every other week. We trick-or-treated their house for Halloween. The girls came and stayed with us for about a week. At the beginning of October, several occasions. November 11th, which is their anniversary and Veterans Day, our family always goes out to eat together. I visited them on the 14th for Jen's birthday.
The 14th of
November.
Did you help Joseph watch the girls in September?
Yes, I did. Jen was at some kind of conference.
And now you said they came to stay at your house?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
That was the first part of October. My dad got married, so they went to South Dakota for his wedding.
And the girls came to stay with you?
Yes.
And were you staying with your mother at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And what role did you play in the care of the girls when they were living at your house?
I dressed them, bathed them, made sure they went potty, made sure they ate, just everything. We took them to Chuck E. Cheese.
Do you have children of your own?
I do.
How old are your children?
I have 2 biological children. One is 15 and one is 12. And then I have an adopted daughter who is 16.
So you know how to take care of children?
Yes, ma'am.
When you bathed Millie and Layla, did you see any bruises, cuts, or abrasions?
No, ma'am.
Did either girl ever complain of her arm hurting her?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And you saw them in October, you had them from, what date, again, did you have them from?
I don't remember the exact dates. It was the first week of October. My stepdad's birthday is October 3rd, so I know that's when we went to Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay, so it was the first week of October.
Yes, ma'am.
And neither one of them did either of them favor their arms?
No.
Did either of them complain of hurting anywhere?
No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, Millie was brushing my hair and brushing my mom's hair, and Layla and I were rolling around on the floor in the living room playing with my other 2 children.
And did she appear to cringe or hurt in any way?
No.
When you were rolling around on the floor?
No, ma'am.
Why did the girls stay with you and not go to South Dakota? Do you know?
We found out that my dad was getting married in a casino bar type deal, and it was not appropriate, which is one of the reasons why I didn't go. I couldn't afford it, and my children.
When you went to Chuck E. Cheese, anything special happened then?
It was just my stepdad's birthday. We just went to Chuck E. Cheese and had a good time. We had... I'm sorry. There's a photo booth, and we had our pictures made on the little cards.
Did, before the South Dakota trip, were you exposed to the children before the South Dakota trip?
Yes, ma'am. I was in nursing school, so I wasn't able to attend their birthday parties, but I would often go over to my brother's house. We're a very close family.
And did you ever see anything untoward about the children?
No, ma'am.
Tell me about Halloween. Did you ever have occasion to see the girls undressed Halloween?
Yes, I helped Jen get them dressed in the living room for Halloween. I was the first one there, and my mom had my children. So we went ahead and prepared and got the girls ready so that we could get my kids ready when they got there.
Okay. And what did that entail, getting them ready?
Just changing Layla, making sure she was clean, and getting her costume on.
And that was October 30th, 31st?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not sure which trick-or-treating day it was that year, but yes, ma'am.
And that day, did you see when you saw the children unfold, did you see any marks, bruises, cuts, lesions of any sorts?
No, ma'am. I think that was when Layla had her cast on, and we had to, my husband actually drove a truck so that we could put her on and off the truck so we didn't have to carry her the whole way, and it was easier for her.
And so you didn't see anything on her body?
No, ma'am.
Tell me a bit about November 11th. What was that?
November 11th, and it is two things for our family. It's Veterans Day, and of course we have several veterans in our family. It's also their anniversary. So every year we always go out to dinner, and that year I got to pick, and I went to Olive Garden, and Layla she didn't feel good. She hardly ate. I tried to give her some of my soup, and she wouldn't eat it. All she wanted to do was lay on Jen and go to sleep.
And did she do that?
She did. Jen sat at the end of the table with her the whole time, and she slept most of it.
Did you see anything on her that day that caused you any alarm?
No, ma'am.
November 17th, you go to the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me what you saw with regards to Jennifer and Joseph Rosenbaum.
When I got there, they were in a room. It was off to the side, and everybody was distraught, and I was trying to figure out what happened. And a detective and a coroner came in, and Jen was explaining what happened, that she had choked on a piece of chicken, and she had tried the Heimlich maneuver and tried to do a finger sweep and tried to use a butter knife as a tongue depressor to try to make sure her airway was clear. And when the coroner walked in, he was really strange. He was like, "Oh, that Jennifer Rosenbaum." Like, he already knew who she was. And I mean, she was a public figure. So I just figured they knew each other. But the way he said it was really off to me. But it was a really hard night.
When you say they were distraught, how did that manifest itself?
Just crying and silence. My family is not one to be silent. We don't really just sit there. Everybody was silent.
And did Jennifer answer the questions that were asked of her?
Yes.
Did you ever see, during the course of time that you knew these girls, Millie and Layla, did you ever see them get hit, spanked, stomped, anything?
No, ma'am, not at all.
And ever see any belt used on them?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Ever see them being kneed or kicked in the stomach?
No, ma'am. Like, they don't spank. Like, they don't spank their dogs. They never spanked my children.
Were you ever in a car when the children fell asleep?
The only time we were in a car was Halloween, and then the girls were with me, but Jennifer and Joseph weren't present. They were in South Dakota.
So you never were with them when the girls fell asleep in their car?
No.
Did Jennifer send you pictures
Yes,
of
ma'am.
the girls?
All the time.
And when she sent you those pictures, did she ever send you pictures of the girls sleeping in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any marks or bruising on the girls at that time?
No, ma'am.
Did there come a time when they were out in South Dakota where Millie or Layla had an accident on the potty?
Well, she had an accident in her pamper, her pull-up, and I asked Jen what to do, and she said to just sit her on the toilet for 5 to 10 minutes and let her use it there so she could relate the two.
And what else did she tell you about that?
Objection, Your Honor, sir.
Response?
It's the defendant, it's not you saying. Rosenbaum. Have you allowed your children to go to the Rosenbaums?
Objection, relevant.
You know, it's relevant in terms of whether she's got any concerns about these other girls, when she sends her children over there.
Council Approach. All right, we're going to do some work out here, so they're either going to be in there or...
Yes, sir, they're all, the ones that stay in are staying, and I'll keep the ones out.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. I think we need to do a little follow-up on some of the issues we've been having, and so let's see if we have any additional argument that either side wants to make on whether or not this question is objectionable.
I understand what you're saying. And to the extent it opens the door, I will ask a question.
Okay, as to that question, then it's being withdrawn, so there, we might have further discussions in place of that particular question. But is there a need to more generally discuss this type of evidence?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and hear that.
Judge, I think what the defense is attempting to do is a violation of both OCGA 24444A as well as 405. Essentially, they are trying to use specific acts to prove conformity therewith. It's a type of character evidence. They can try to classify it as bad evidence. But what they're trying to say is that I don't have a problem sending my kids over there, or my kids were never used by Jennifer Rosenbaum, the person that earlier today. My kids, there were never any problems with Jennifer Rosenbaum watching my kids. I point the court to Wade versus the state. That is at 305 Georgia Appeals 382, and I have a copy from the court. In there, and this is a child molestation type case, but the court specifically in footnote 3, I guess there was a concern on appeals that the defendant in that case, his other children were not allowed to testify that he didn't abuse them, he didn't molest them. And the court specifically noted that testimony about no evidence of molestation of these children by the defendant would not have been admissible. They then cited that case. Excuse me?
I'm familiar with that case.
Yes. So I think this is essentially what this line of questioning when they specifically asked about did you have any problems with your kids going over there? Did they watch your kids? Did you have any concerns about watching your kids? It was essentially in violation of that.
Tell me, how was it presented in the case? There was an objection by the state to a question that was asked by the defense, and then the court did what?
So it was brought, in the context of this particular case, it was brought up as an ineffective assistance of counsel. So it was that their counsel did not present that type of evidence. So there was, the issue never came up, they kind of made a note of it, and then they cited back to Bain versus the state, which is the 181 Georgia Appeals 856, which is the 1987 case. Of course, all these cases are prior to the new evidence code of 2013, which is now governed by 404 and 405.
But the point is that it's essentially irrelevant whether or not the witness is comfortable having Jennifer mind their children, for lack of a better way to put it.
It's relevant, and it's also it's a form of character evidence because they're trying to say that they're trying to show specific acts, which is in violation of the code, to prove conformity therewith. And therefore, they didn't use my kids, so therefore they didn't use Layla and they didn't use me.
To the extent that we're talking about good character evidence, it's what we see generally speaking as admission of opinion or reputation testimony. In cross-examination, we have specific instances of conduct which can be brought up by the state. So exactly is this? Is this a specific instance of conduct? I guess the question is, what is this? And it appears to be
when we had our initial witnesses, asked each of them and asked their own witnesses if they had seen this, would they have done something about it? If they had seen this injury, would they have done something about it? And I don't think it's any different. And while I'm in accord with the court, I won't ask the question anymore. I don't think it's any different than what the state did with regards to asking what they would do if these injuries came to them. And so saying that Jennifer, that people would allow their kids to be babysat by Jennifer even after the arrest is no different than that. But I don't think it's character. It's not opinion. It's not talking about her character. It's talking about whether that witness would leave their kids with an abuser.
I think that if in fact Jennifer has babysat children after the arrest, then of course that's evidence that can come out. It doesn't necessarily then, I think, open the door to the sort of impeachment with all of the things that they don't know. So we're seeing slightly different versions of these types of questions. And so I think in the first scenario, where you're talking, would you be comfortable leaving the children? That I think is a form of character type of evidence that you're eliciting. And in the latter question, it's not. That's how I see it at present. And I know that this is more of a free-ranging discussion of the application of the rules to these types of scenarios. I just feel like it's important that we have it because we're continuing to have problems. So I'm open to any other comments. Since we don't really have a specific objection I'm dealing with, we're talking instead about the application of rules generally to the scenarios that have been presented. Is there anything else that either party wants to raise at this time? I want to give you the benefit of my thinking to the extent that there need to be some correction of that thinking I was hoping to make.
What I've asked these witnesses specifically is whether they left their kids with Jennifer. I haven't asked them would they leave their kids with Jennifer. It's did they leave their kids and were they comfortable doing so? So I just would note that difference.
Then the cross-examination would be that you don't really know anything about any aspect of this case, very relevant time frames. As opposed to, did you know that X happened? Did you know that Y happened? And if you did know that X and Y happened, would you still be comfortable? You see, I think there's a difference in how that's handled. I think that the former is okay, the latter is not.
And I guess I'm kind of back at the original, that I don't think the question itself under the Wade case, because it's essentially asking what they didn't use your kids. They put it in the context of the Wade case. You didn't molest the other kids.
So the point is that the question itself about whether or not the child stayed with them subsequent to the arrest is irrelevant.
I think so.
And that seems to be consistent with the Wade case. And so it's not really a character issue so much as it's a relevance issue.
And I think also, according to the Wade case, staying with them, Jennifer or Joseph watching their own children prior to the Wade case, that would also be, I think that would also be relevant.
Well, let me take some time with that case. Why don't you review the case as well, Ms. Small, and we'll sort of come to an agreement, if we can, about its application to whatever patterns of questions we see moving forward.
And I had circled the one little footnote. I had circled the footnote on there. I just wanted to make that clear. That's the only thing I circled.
And we'll just we're going to give them a little longer break. I'm going to spend some time with this case.
Thank you, Judge.
Did you let the defendant babysit your children post-arrest? That would be a specific instance of good conduct, which I think would be inadmissible under 405. And would you allow? I believe that would be character evidence, which could be cross-examined by way of specific instances of conduct. However, guilt-assuming hypotheticals would be inadmissible. So that's about all the general guidance I think I can do. Because if you're looking for what I'm reading specifically, it's 405 Carlson Baker. United States versus Guzman, 167, Hector 1350. And it indicates that the student had to strike a very hard presumption of innocence. So that's what we're
Just so I can make sure that we're all on the same page. If they start asking questions like that, which would be specific instances of good conduct, often may not be able to ask it in a hypothetical. We tend to confront them with specific acts of background. That seems to be what the statute allows for.
It's true so long as it's not hypothetical. And I guess what I'm concerned about is that your hypotheticals could potentially be guilt assuming. And your specific instances of conduct relate to this case. That's the issue.
And I guess the reason why we are allowed to do that is essentially within the specific act, specific instance of good conduct is a form of character. Would it in that regard, we are allowed to confront them with specific acts of bad conduct to determine whether to test their knowledge. And that's essentially what it is.
It's true. It really depends upon the phraseology of the question. Right. And so we're going to have to work through it. But I think that we have a general understanding of the terrain. At least we're all on the same page.
Because first of all, we're here for the jury has back in. I would just note for the record that some of the information that we appear to be getting from the witnesses, it does appear to be starting to get very cumulative. To that extent, we would object to any witnesses that are going to testify about the same things. That they didn't have injuries at Noah's Ark. They didn't have injuries at the Fall Festival. They didn't have injuries at the trunk or treat. I think that at this point, that point has been made. The state has not said anything different. And I would point the court to Goggins versus the state. 330 Georgia 50, 2014 case, and it's relating to character evidence, but in allowed once the character evidence or once the evidence appears to be getting cumulative, taken as a whole, the court can restrict the further presentation of evidence that just appears to be reiterating the same thing.
Pointing to the fact that at the Fall Festival, Blue-Page Banks brought in the fact that this child was bruised on half of her face, put in a picture to suggest that the picture shows a bruise on half of the face. So it's important for us to be able to show that nobody saw any bruises on the face at that Fall Festival. The state raised it, and I think we've got the right to rebut it.
Okay, thank you. I'll allow that. Let's bring it through. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the delay, but I can assure you that we've been working, and so we're ready to begin again. Please call your next witness.
Joseph Rosenbaum Daniel still on the same.
All right, let's have her continue. Okay, ma'am, you're still here. Go ahead and have a seat, please. And Ms. Noel will continue her examination. Okay, we have no problems.
Good morning.
I want to start, you said one of the last times you saw the girls were on November the 14th.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was at the Rosenbaum's house or somewhere else?
That was at their house.
And it was a birthday celebration for Jennifer Rosenbaum?
It was just me visiting for her birthday because I was in nursing school and working full time, so I couldn't do it during the week.
And how long did you stay at their house that day?
About an hour.
About an hour? Okay. And where were the girls at that time?
Just in the living room. We were watching TV, just sitting down talking.
And you said the time prior to that was on November the 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
And you guys were at Olive Garden.
Yes, ma'am.
And Layla wasn't feeling well.
No, ma'am, she was not.
Let me ask you, when you visited her on November the 14th, did she tell you about Layla going to the hospital on November the 12th from not feeling well?
No, ma'am.
Did she tell you anything about having to take her there and have to get her a nebulizer?
No, ma'am.
Okay. She made no mention of having to take this child to the doctor.
No, ma'am. I did most of the talking.
You did most of the talking. Okay. And you said you would see these children often.
Yes, ma'am. Once every other week. Like I said, I was really busy.
And on the 14th, did Layla appear to be feeling better?
Yeah, for the most part.
Was she up and running around?
Mm-hmm.
And when you would be in the home with them, would you describe the kids as being, I guess, rough and tumble and rambunctious?
I mean, normal kids. They were girls. So, I mean, I have a girl and a boy, and my boy is by far more rambunctious than my girls. But they were little girls.
So none of the rough and tumble or playing around resulted in any serious injury from what you observed?
No, ma'am.
No broken bones or anything of that nature?
No, ma'am.
And then you said in October of 2015, the first week of October, the girls stayed with yourself and your mom.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, they were rolling around on the floor playing, no issues or concerns at that time?
No, ma'am. We were just watching Frozen, their favorite movie, playing on the floor.
And that would have been about 6 weeks prior to Layla's death?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, Layla's leg wasn't even broken, right?
No.
So she was no issues to your knowledge?
No, ma'am.
And at some point you learned that Layla broke her leg?
Yes.
How did you learn about her breaking her leg?
Jen told me that she fell during a gymnastics class.
Prior to hearing that she had broken her leg, did you know anything about Layla being in gymnastics?
I did.
Okay. How did you know she was in gymnastics?
The girls would tell me, and Millie showed me her little bodysuit type deal.
Did you see Layla's bodysuit type thing deal?
No.
She didn't have any leotards?
If she did, I know she was doing just the basic class.
So your understanding, and I guess, is that coming from Millie or Jennifer as to your understanding about Layla in gymnastics class?
Well, Jen told me that she was in gymnastics, but Millie showed me her leotard one-piece thing.
And I just want to be real clear, Jennifer told you that both girls were taking classes?
Well, she told me that Millie was taking classes, and Layla was doing the little, I guess it's an introductory type deal. My girls aren't into that stuff, so.
And did she tell you that immediately after Layla broke her leg that she took her to the hospital?
We didn't really talk about her. She just told me that she had broke her leg and she had a pink cast. She showed me her little cast.
Did she ever mention that she had fallen in a hole prior to gymnastics?
No.
Did you ever see the girls after they came back from visits with Peggy Banks?
No.
So during the time that you would see these girls once a week, they never had visited with their great-grandmother, Peggy Banks?
They could have. I don't know Peggy at all. I wasn't at the birthday parties that I know she was at. I've never met the woman. I wouldn't know if she was sitting in the audience.
But you would see them once a week from time to time when they were with the Rosenbaums?
Yes, ma'am. About once every other week.
And you never saw any bruises or injuries on them that caused you concern?
No, ma'am.
Even if they had a visit with their great-grandmother?
Yeah.
And then, let me ask you, you said, did you know about the girls' daycare, where they attended daycare?
No.
Did you know they were in daycare?
No, ma'am.
That was never discussed by the defendants with you about them being in daycare?
No.
Do you know who was keeping the children? Because I know you were busy. You weren't watching them during the day.
No.
Was your mother watching them?
Probably. I have no idea.
Was your understanding that Jennifer and Joseph were watching them and taking care of them?
Yeah, I know that they had applied for daycare through the state and were denied, so I know daycare is expensive. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was watching them because I believe he was working at night at that time. So he would get off and come home, nap, and watch the girls.
And during the time that you were taking care of Layla, she was potty trained, right? She was getting potty trained.
She was pretty good at it. She had an accident every now and then, but she was good at it.
During that week that you were watching the girls, was she wearing panties or pull-ups?
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups. What type of pull-ups did she have?
I don't know.
Did they give you, when I say they, did the defendants give you any specific type of pull-ups that she needed to wear?
Yeah, Jen packed her bags, and I mean, she had outfits labeled for every single day.
Did she ever give you any, let me ask you, did you ever see a diaper rash on Layla during the time that she was with you guys?
Not that I recall.
So no concerns about anything that you were doing as far as her hygiene and care for her diapers?
No.
And you weren't given any special instructions about what to use on her during the time that she was with you?
No.
And you said you had 3 kids?
Yes, ma'am.
Potty training is difficult.
It is.
It's frustrating. They don't always do what they need to do when they need to do it, where they need to do it, right?
I got lucky.
Lucky you, but that's not always the case, right?
No, it's not.
How was Layla doing with potty training when you guys were with her? Because you said she had an accident, right?
She did have an accident, and I cleaned her up, and Jen told me to put her on the potty for about 5 to 10 minutes, make sure she was finished, and make sure that, she would wipe properly since she was a little girl.
During the time that the girls were with you guys, you said the South Dakota trip.
Yes.
So you never received a ticket from Jennifer or Joseph to fly out to South Dakota to go to your father's wedding?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I couldn't afford that, I'm sorry.
And the girls never rode in a car to go out to South Dakota to go to this wedding?
No,
To your knowledge, only Jennifer and Joseph went on the South Dakota trip?
yes.
Now, let me ask you, the girls stayed with you and your mom during that week. Did you have to have DFACs come in order to, I guess, evaluate your home permission for the girls to stay with you during that week?
No,
Did you talk with anyone about the girls staying with you during that week?
no.
Do you know if the defendants had any conversation with the caseworker about the girls staying with you during that week while they were gone?
I don't know of anything, no.
So you never had any contact with their caseworker, Samantha White?
No.
Or anyone from DFAC?
No, ma'am.
And I think you said in September, you had seen the girls and there were no bruises or injuries on them at all?
Right.
So to your knowledge, you've never seen any bruises or injuries or anything concerning on these children during the time that you observed them?
No.
And I think you said that you only rode in the car with them, well, actually, you rode in the car with them one time during Halloween.
Yeah, we just drove around the neighborhood, and we weren't even in the car. We were in the back of the truck, and Layla was up front with my husband and mom.
And Ms. Mull asked you about whether or not you had ever seen Jennifer or Joseph spank the girls.
Yeah, she did.
And you never seen them spank the girls?
Nope.
But you didn't live with them, right?
I did not.
You weren't there 24/7?
I was not.
So you can't say what happened when you were not in the home?
That's correct.
And as far as going to sleep in a car, would it be unusual for a parent to spank a child for going to sleep in a car?
It would?
That's not something you would expect to happen if a child went to sleep.
No.
Nothing.
Anything else?
You said, told Ms. Young that you didn't know Peggy Banks at all.
I don't.
So you don't know when the child went to Peggy Banks or not?
No, ma'am.
And you don't know whether she came back from Peggy Banks with injuries or not?
I have no idea.
Thank you, ma'am. You can sit.
Thank you.
Is he excused? All right. You're free to go. Next call, next witness.
Ashley Kincaid?
Sorry.
Could you state your name and spell it for me?
Ashlyn Kincaid, ASHLYNN KINCAID.
Ms. Kincaid, how do you know Jennifer Rosenbaum?
I met her through my parents. She babysat me, took me to gymnastics. I did pageants with her, so I've known her for a while.
Since what age have you known her?
Since I was about 8.
And tell us, if you would, did I hear you say she took you to gymnastics?
Yes.
And did you go to gym tech? Gym tech?
No, I went to World Extreme.
World Extreme?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went to gymnastics, were you allowed to get on the equipment without being in a class?
Objection, relevant.
Response?
I have nothing further.
All right. Anything from this witness? Thank you, ma'am. You can sit down. Thanks for calling. Next witness. Kim Smith. Kim Smith. Kim Smith. Right up here, please, ma'am. Could you go that way, please? All right. If you would just raise your right hand, Ms. Mobile's for everybody.
Just write down truth and whole truth. How we go?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a seat in this, say your name and spell it for me.
Kim Smith, KIMSMITH.
Ms. Smith, who is your sister?
Peggy Banks.
And what do you do?
I work in the accounting department of an IT company.
what is your relationship to Laila Daniel and Millie Place?
I am their great aunt.
Did you, do you recall a time when Layla passed away?
Yes, ma'am.
And on near that date, did you have occasion to give a statement to the police?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you tell the police?
I gave a statement to the police the morning after she died. We met at the police station, and I gave a statement that I thought that what we were told by Jennifer was the truth.
Okay, let me show you, let me ask you this. This is 139, and ask you if you can identify it. What is that statement? What is that?
That's a statement I gave the day after she died.
Where in that statement does it say anything about believing Jennifer Rosenbaum?
It doesn't say that I believed her. It said I've been around them on several occasions and felt nothing was amiss. I also said I sincerely don't think Jennifer or Joseph are to blame. I think they loved the girls and saw no evidence of abuse or neglect.
So there's nothing in there about believing Jennifer, is there?
No.
And in fact, this was done on November 18th, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, you also, did you give that statement to Detective Witt?
I think it was him. I don't recall.
Do you recall talking to Detective Witt?
I don't recall who it was.
Do you recall having a conversation with the detective?
Yeah. Yes.
And do you recall telling that detective that the girl's present situation and living arrangements have you? What did you tell the detective about the girl's present living situation?
That I thought it was good.
And that you were referring to the Rosenbaum?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that was the question. And your objection is what, leading?
Yes, Judge.
Please don't lead the witness.
Now, there came a time where you went down to headquarters to give another statement, correct?
I think so. Yes.
And that was after November 18th, 2015.
Yes. I'm not sure of the date.
Would December 12th ring any bells for you?
That sounds about right.
And you told the detectives a different story.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you tell them?
After some retrospect, I started seeing some red flags that I had missed. I believe I had spoken with Detective Thompson that day. I had recalled some instances from the October 17th birthday party at Noah's Ark. I told him that I felt like Millie's behavior was strange that day. She wasn't acting like herself. I also told him that Layla, too, was not acting like herself. Although I hadn't been around Layla as much as Millie, excuse me. Just some different things that were just odd that I felt like he should know about.
Had you seen any bruises on Millie or Layla at the fall festival, at the birthday party?
After I had seen the pictures,
No, I'm asking you, what did you see at the fall festival?
I saw them in their costumes. I did pick up Layla and noticed that she had lost weight and felt lighter.
Did you notice any bruises on her face or body?
No.
Now, you have had conversations with Jennifer by Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have told what have you told Jennifer on Facebook?
I don't recall specifically.
Do you recall anything that you said on Facebook?
Maybe that I was glad that the girls were with her. That, you know, it was a welcome answered prayer that they were with her and Joseph.
What did you tell her about how Peggy treated the girls?
I don't
Really?
I don't recall.
See if this refreshes your recollection about some of the conversations that you had with Jennifer.
I don't see anything on here about the way my sister treated Millie.
Okay, let me ask you another question. You said you didn't remember the conversations. Did you have any conversations with them about how you found Millie and Layla to be?
While they were with the Rosenbaums?
Yes.
According to this, that they were fine, that they seemed to have a sense of peace when they were with them.
And what is the date of that statement? Do you know?
Looks like the beginning of September.
Of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember talking to Jennifer and talking about how the girls looked and acted
At a particular time?
at a particular time in October of 2015?
On a specific date, I don't remember, did I see, was it at the birthday party?
October 17th, 2015.
I told her that I thought the kids looked good, great, but I was referencing their costumes. I think that I said they were acting fine.
Would it help to refresh your recollection to see the...
Sure.
actual-
Mm-hmm. Yes, I told her that I was happy to meet Joseph that day. I said the girls looked and were acting amazing, so glad they are with you. And that was referring to the October 17th birthday party at Noah's Ark.
Recall my asking you a question about what you said about Peggy, correct? You said you don't remember saying anything about Peggy.
About how she treated the girls, or Millie?
Yes.
Right.
Would it help you to take a look at some documents?
Sure.
these things one at a time. See, that refreshes your recollection.
I said on here that she says things that are inappropriate to say in front of a child.
Okay, what else did you say in there?
Basically, that I've told, that I've mentioned to her that she shouldn't do that. I tell her a lot not to say certain things to the girls. Basically, it's the way she's always been. And
What else did you say?
on the bottom, she said some stuff to the girls, but then denied it.
So, you told Jennifer that Peggy Banks told some stuff to the girls and then denied having told it.
Yes, said she didn't remember saying it, or she had a senior moment, or she didn't remember saying it.
And what did you say about how that was affecting you?
First of all, I'm not asking whether or not she can recall. I think it would be more appropriate to determine whether or not she can recall before she can document.
I agree.
Can you recall what it is that you said in Facebook posts to Jennifer about how the situation with Millie and your sister was having an effect on you?
It's very stressful. I mean, I was living with my grown sister, and it was a very small house, and with a 5-year-old that needed to be playing outside, and she couldn't because we were trying to hide her from the HOA at that time. So it was very stressful for me.
What did you tell Jennifer in September of 2015 about the girls?
I don't know what you're referring
See,
to.
this refreshes your recollection.
I said, you're the best thing that has happened to the girls.
Let's see if this further refreshes your recollection.
I'm so glad they're with you. And I agree, sometimes she plays favorites.
Who plays favorites?
Peggy.
What do you mean by that, she plays favorites?
Then she's just more closer to Millie, and she wants to spend more time with Millie. Looking at it, you can say she plays favorites. Sometimes I thought she could have gotten Layla more often, but again, she couldn't take care of two. And I see that she couldn't have taken care of a toddler unless I was there to help her change the diaper. So when she would get Layla, I would be there so that I could help.
Thank you. What was the atmosphere in the house with you, Millie, and Peggy?
It was fine.
Do you recall saying otherwise?
I might have if I was frustrated or anxious.
Would it help you if I showed you a document to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
See if this refreshes your recollection about the atmosphere in the house with Peggy and Millie.
I said when Millie lived with us, the relationship was unhealthy. Peggy would scream and yell a lot. She would say things to Millie like, how could you be so stupid? Just unhealthy and non-affirming language, which is how she has raised her own children.
When Jennifer suggested to you that Millie was wrong, is it true that Peggy used to swat her with a fly swat? Objection, please.
Stay.
Did Peggy hit her with a fly swatter?
She would swat at her. More so, she would pick up the fly swatter and the behavior would stop.
Do you recall saying otherwise?
I think Jennifer in that paper there said that Peggy told Jennifer that she had spanked her with a fly swatter, and I agreed. But my sister's not very mobile, so she wasn't going to chase her down and hit her with a fly swatter. She would swat at her, but she always missed.
What did you say in this statement, in this Facebook post? What did you tell Jennifer about whether or not Peggy spanked her with a fly swatter?
I said yes, she did.
You didn't say swat at?
No. With all due respect, Miss Mall.
1 second, please. Ma'am. Is this a response to the question? The question was what she said in the Facebook post, correct? Just ask your next question. You can't speak unless you have a response to the question.
Okay, yes, sir.
What did you tell Detective Thompson about seeing whether or not you saw the children in pain or physical discomfort?
I don't recall.
You don't recall telling Detective Thompson anything about whether you ever saw the children in pain or in physical discomfort?
I don't recall exactly what I said. Do you have something that would refresh my memory?
I do. See if this refreshes my recollection.
I noted in here about Layla's broken leg. I mean, that's what you have highlighted as far as me noticing that she was in distress.
Is that the only thing, the only pain and discomfort you ever saw the children in was the broken leg?
I think she was I think I noted on here that I thought Layla was in distress at the birthday party, meaning that, I had only seen Layla probably 4 or 5 times. And when I was holding her, and then giving her back to Joseph, she was clinging to me and not wanting to go back to Joseph, which I thought at first, she really loves her Aunt Kimmy. She's getting to know me, which made me happy. But I could see there was just distraught in her face. So when Joseph took her, I had a friend of mine with me that she had never met. And as soon as she was in Joseph's arms, she flung herself into the arms of my friend.
So, did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Did you call DFACS to report this flinging behavior of the child?
No, ma'am.
Are you aware that she there's been testimony that she's followed him around wherever he
Objections
goes.
are on the lead.
Sustain the objection. Please rephrase.
No, I'm not aware of any previous testimony.
Did you know whether or not she was known to follow him around?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Ms. Smith, so it would be fair to say, initially you felt the girls were in good hands.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you heard the phrase hindsight is 20/20?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had hindsight now in regards to the Rosenbaum?
Yes, ma'am.
So the opinions that you expressed on November the 18th, are they still the same?
No, ma'am.
Have they changed and why?
Yes, ma'am.
Why have they changed?
Response.
I'll rephrase the question. The statements that you wrote in regards to not feeling that the defendants were to blame, do you still stand by those statements?
No, ma'am.
And why not?
I think after the facts started coming out about the case, the questions of the bruising on him, things that we recollect that were red flags, as far as the bruising and the questions that we asked and the answers that we got back from Jennifer, just kind of did not add up.
And I want to ask you, I'm going to back up just a bit because I want to talk to you more about that. In regards to Peggy swatting or spanking Millie with a fly swatter, were you there when those incidents may have happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Millie have any bruises or injuries as a result of that swatting?
No, ma'am.
Did she have any broken bones as a result of that?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see her swat at or hit Layla with a fly swatter?
No, ma'am.
And about how many times during the time that Millie and Layla were living with the Rosenbaums did they come over to your home at the time you were?
I think 2, maybe 3 times that they both came.
And I want to ask you in regards to Peggy. She made what you felt were inappropriate statements in front of the children.
Sometimes, yes, ma'am.
Did you ever hear her tell the children to lie?
Excuse me?
Did you ever hear her tell the children to lie?
No, ma'am.
Was it grown-up conversation that she was having in front of a 4-year-old that you had an issue with?
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to Layla, you said they came over 2 or 3 times together. What about Millie? How many times did she come over during that time?
Several times. And the reason why Layla didn't come over as often is, number one, I was working and couldn't help her. And then number 2, there was always a reason with Jennifer that she was sick, that she was napping, that she was being punished and couldn't come to the visit. So there was always excuses towards the end of why Layla couldn't come.
Now I want to talk to you about the communication that you had with the defendant, Jennifer Rosenbaum. When did you start having communication? Was that all through Facebook messaging?
Yes, ma'am. It was probably, we touch base now and then for probably August to maybe the end of October.
At any point did you talk about the girls and how they were doing? And what things they were involved in or not involved in? At any point in August, do you recall her messaging you, letting you know that Layla was in the hospital and had to get an IV?
No, ma'am.
So she didn't send you any information about that?
No, ma'am.
In November, did she send you any message about Layla having to go to the hospital at all?
No.
But at some point you learned that Layla broke her leg?
Yes.
Was that through a message on Facebook with the defendant?
I believe so. I believe she sent me the picture with her in the cast. And when I asked what happened, she said that she hurt herself at gymnastics.
Prior to receiving that picture in regards to her hurting her leg in gymnastics, were you aware of Layla being in gymnastics?
Not Layla. I knew Millie was.
And did you ever receive pictures of Millie in her gymnastics outfit or at gymnastics?
Yes, she sent me a couple.
Did you ever receive any of Layla?
No.
And how soon in time was it that you got the message about Layla breaking her leg from the defendant in comparison to the Noah's Ark party?
I don't remember, and I don't remember that. I don't know what the timeline was when she broke her leg. I know that the party was on October 17th, so I'm not sure when she broke her leg.
Was her leg broken at the party on October 17th?
You know what? I don't know, because she had that Olaf costume on that covered everything except her face. But I know that she wasn't walking around. She was being held and passed from person to person. But I don't recall when I was holding her that I felt the cast on her.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as case exhibit 152 and already entered into evidence. Is this you? It's behind you. Is this you with Layla at that party?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you able to see that date up there?
October 17th.
And you said, did you see Layla walking around at that party?
No, ma'am, not at all.
How was she being transported during the time that she was there?
She was at the party. She was being held just passed from person to person. And then after that, when they were, had changed clothes and were going to go around to the, see the animals and check out the festival, she was put in a wagon and pulled.
At that time, did Jennifer or Joseph mention her having issues with her leg or favoring her leg?
No, not at all.
Did they mention anything about her falling down a hole while she was at your house and Peggy's house?
No, ma'am.
In fact, the last time Layla was at your house was in September or August or September?
It had to be in the summer because we went to the splash pad.
So when you saw her in October the 17th, it had been several months since she had been at Peggy's home?
Several, yes.
It was
Yes.
October and August? It had been August or September?
Yes, I would say August. I think we had her in July and then in August.
And no one ever mentioned anything about her falling in a hole at
No.
Peggy's house? Now let me ask you about Peggy's house. Is there a backyard?
Not really what you call a backyard, maybe a back patio. It's got pavers. It's probably as big as this little section right here. It's very small.
How do you get access to that backyard?
Usually there's a door, an interior door that leads out there. It was actually through my bedroom. We never went out there because the way I had my room set up, my bed was blocking the door. So to get out there, you would have to totally move my bed and my dresser and things to be able to open the door. However, you could get to it from the outside, but it's like a row of condos, and you would have to go outside and go all the way around the other condos to get back to hers.
Now, when the girls would come over to visit, did they ever spend time in the backyard?
No.
What about the front yard?
Very rarely, because we were not wanting the HOA to know that they were there.
And you lived there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were there holes in the front yard or in the flower bed?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever observe the girls? Let me ask you, when the girls were outside, would you just let them run outside and be out there by themselves?
No, they were never out there by themselves. And the only time when they were out there, it usually was never in the grass. When we took them out, it was always to sidewalk, play, and we'd make hopscotch, or we would, draw rainbows on the sidewalk. And it was usually just on the very front porch.
And so would it be fair to say you never saw Layla fall in a hole while she was at
No,
your
ma'am.
house? Let me ask you were talking about those red flags in that hindsight 2020. What types of things after November the 18th came to your mind that seemed to be red flags to you?
There were several times that Layla had bruises on her face that Peggy and I would ask about. There was one time that she had a black eye, just, all around her eye. We asked Jennifer, and she told us that Layla got in a fight at daycare, but it was okay because you should see the other kid, he looks worse.
At that point, were you aware or did you know anything about the girls going to daycare?
No, ma'am.
Did you later learn that they were not in daycare?
Yes.
Is that why it became a red flag?
Yes.
And do you recall when that was that you saw that black eye on Layla that the defendant claimed occurred at daycare?
That might have been like during the September visit.
Were there any other occasions where you injuries or bruises on Millie or Layla?
There was another time that Layla had a bruise on her face. I believe it was on her cheek. We asked what happened, and Jennifer said she tripped and fell and hit her face on a toy.
And do you recall what time of year that was when that happened?
No, that might have been after, like, end of September, maybe. I can't recall. Yeah, I can't recall the date.
Okay. Was it before October the 17th?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it close in time to the black eye?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other injuries that you may have observed on Layla?
No, I don't recall.
You didn't call defects or the police when you saw those injuries?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Throughout my life, I've never been exposed to any kind of abuse, physical abuse. So abuse was not on my radar at all. So I believed what Jennifer told us.
So when she told you that it happened at daycare?
I believed her. Yes, ma'am.
And when she told you that she fell on a toy, you believed?
Yes, ma'am.
And the knowledge that you had of Jennifer and Joseph Rosenbaum, was that all based on what she told you?
Yes.
And what you saw on Facebook?
Yes.
These injuries that you thought back to, is that when you called Detective Thompson to report the things that you were starting to recall?
I believe so.
Now, Ms. Mull asked you about an injury on Layla's face during the birthday party on October the 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever get any pictures or take any pictures of Layla at the birthday party?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever receive any pictures during that birthday party?
I think Jennifer sent me a few.
And at some point in time, did you go back and look at those pictures again?
Yes, ma'am.
Why'd you go back and look at them?
Just to recollect the event. And then afterwards, when all the facts started coming in, we went just back and looked at them, had them enlarged, and just were able to see that she had bruises on her face that we didn't notice because of the Olaf costume.
And I'm going to show you this been marked as State's Exhibit 152. If I can get a light, please. Is State's Exhibit 152 one of the photographs that you went back to review?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall, is this one of the pictures you took or one of the pictures that you received?
I took that one.
And can you just point, and there's a stick in front of you, blue stick. What area of Layla's face did you notice bruising when you went back and looked?
Right here. She's got a bruise, and right there, and then up around her forehead. She had a bruise.
Did you notice anything about the defendant, Jennifer Rosenbaum, who's also depicted in that picture?
Yeah, she had like cuts and bruises on her knuckles, which we noticed. And another thing I noticed is that Layla was 2.5 years old and she could eat her own cupcake. I noticed, why was Jennifer feeding her the cupcake when a 2.5-year-old could eat her own cupcake?
The lights can come back up. Let me ask you, Ms. Smith, have you altered or doctored this photograph in any way?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Do you even know how to do anything?
No.
Besides, at that time, I think you mentioned to Ms. Mull that you noticed something about Layla and her feeling light. Tell us about that.
Yes, ma'am. When I had her, the last time I had seen her was when we went to the splash pad. And she was chunky, like a toddler would be. And when I picked her up at Noah's Ark that day, I noticed her being considerably lighter. And I even made a comment, kind of jokingly, because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, she's losing that toddler weight, being more active. And I even made a comment to Jennifer, like, oh my goodness, y'all need to feed her another cupcake.
Who'd you make that statement to?
To Jennifer. And she didn't respond. She just kind of smiled and gave that kind of nervous laugh. And then I didn't say anything further.
Let me ask you, you said something about Layla being able to feed herself. When she was over you and Peggy's home, did anyone have to feed her her food?
No.
Was she able to pick up a fork and use it to
Or she'd eat it with her fingers.
And you observed Millie that day as well, October the 17th. And I think you mentioned to the police that she appeared to be acting robotic.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Millie's usually a typical 3 or 4 year old. She's just bouncing from one person to the other and playful. She was very, or almost too well behaved for that child of that age. I mean, just too well behaved. She would be very, very careful about who she sat with, who she talked to, how she would be very careful when she got up to eat the cake, open presents. And we asked her, and she said, I can't mess up my dress. I can't get any wrinkles on it.
Did she tell you who told her that?
Miss Jennifer.
When Layla and Millie would be at you and Peggy's home, did you ever see them acting rambunctious or rough and tumble?
Somewhat, but not over the top.
Did they ever have any serious injuries as a result of playing with one another and being verbal?
No.
Ever have any broken bones?
Oh, no.
Actually, when you made your statement to Detective Thompson, December the 7th of 2015, did you know that Millie had a broken arm?
No.
When did you learn that Millie had a broken arm?
Just now.
On October the 17th, you said Millie was acting robotic. Was she able to use her arms, use her hands to open her gifts and stuff like
Yes.
that? Okay. What about Layla? Was she acting unable to use her hands? I know you said she was being transported by hand to hand in a wagon. What about using her hands and that type of thing?
Not that I noticed, but I just noticed when she used her hands when she was clutching, like, my shirt, and it was a death grip. And then she used her arms when she reached back out.
And that was unusual behavior for Layla.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess hindsight is 2020. You feel differently about how she was behaving.
Yes, ma'am.
On November the 17th, did you go to the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Were you made aware of Layla's death?
On the morning of the 18th.
On the morning of the 18th. And who told you about her death?
My sister Peggy had gotten a call from Tessa, and I walked out of my room and she was on the phone with Tessa.
And at any point, did you have any contact with the defendants after Layla's death?
Yes, after we went to the police station, which Tessa asked us to meet her there, and then we talked with Detective Thompson. My sister and I went straight to the DFAC's office because we wanted to find out where Layla was and what was going on. And as soon as we got to the DFAC's office, we were inside, and Joseph and Layla walked out from the back. I mean, Joseph and Jennifer walked out from the back.
What did you do when they walked out from the back?
We kind of got up and went over to, like, console them. We believed that they just had spent a night of terror, terror of losing a child in their care.
At that point, did you know anything about the bruises that Layla?
No. We just thought that she had choked on a piece of chicken and didn't make it.
Did you know anything about her broken arm?
No, nothing.
Or her broken rib?
Nothing.
Nothing further to say.
Thank you, Michelle. Redirect.
When you were at Noah's Ark, did you stay the whole time?
Actually, I worked there at the time.
You went back to work?
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't stay with Layla?
No, I was back and forth the whole time.
You didn't go with them through the rides, did you?
No.
And so if she was walking around, you wouldn't have been able to see her, would you?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 140 and ask you to identify that.
And that is a picture of Layla in the wagon that they had put her in. I don't know who the middle child is, but the back is Layla. I mean, Millie, excuse me.
And does it say free rides on it?
Mm-hmm.
So was this wagon belonging to Jennifer?
I believe it belonged to Noah's Ark.
Who was pulling the wagon?
I don't know.
You don't know the person who was pulling it? I will tender into the record Defendant's Exhibit 140.
Any objection? It's a bit.
Thank you. The wagon was being used to give rides to other children, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. You can step down.
Thank you. Am I excused?
Yes. That's just objection.
Okay.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break. Let's take an hour and 15 minutes. Come back at, what is that? 1:45? 1:45? Thank you. We'll see you then.